They got to get PG up out of there, man. Right? I told you guys this before. The dude is mentally weak. He was sitting up there crying like a little hoe. Draymond Green is an absolute buffoon. And we're gonna talk about why, ladies and gentlemen. As $100 million man, Draymond Green can't get the hell out of his own way and stop the Golden State Warriors from losing games. Now, super whack. I know you don't think that I was gonna forget about you, sucker. I don't take a lot of heat over my stance on Lonzo from year one. I called this out from the first year. You guys all can remember this almost 4 years ago. I said that Lonzo was a bust, and everybody got mad and said I was hating. And I didn't want to see the brother succeed. I was just being a hater, this, that, and the third. And the funny thing is, I'm seeing all those same people now say that Lonzo's a bust. He ain't got no heart. But I was telling you, dude. And I want to talk about the number one hype job right now in the NBA outside of Lonzo Scrub. And his name is Ben Simmons. And I'm going to tell y'all why. Ain't no dude that's getting paid damn near $200 million supposed to be out here averaging 11 and 12 points per game. And I'm gonna start out by saying this, man. Dollar is one of my favorite players in the league. But I had to tell the truth about Dame Dollar, man. Dollar's one of the worst point guards in the NBA. And I'm gonna tell y'all why. Have panicked and made a shocking last-minute move that I think is a bad move. And I'm going to tell y'all why I think this is a bad move. The Lakers have placed Dwight Howard in the starting lineup. The reason why I think it's a bad move is because Dwight Howard has been coming in the game trying to do all that crazy-ass rah-rah stuff with Jokic. And Dwight Howard's been getting quick fouls. He's been almost getting 4 or 5 fouls in less than 15 minutes. I'm going to tell you something. If Dwight Howard comes in the game tonight with that, and they're trying to put him in the game for the rebounding battle, but the way he's been playing against Jokic, he has not been playing good fundamental defense.
YouTuber Ticket TV, also known as Chris. No, I think it's Christopher. Hold on. I'm sorry, his new name is CJ, and he has been brought up on federal charges of lying to the community. Officials state he is accused of false, fetishes, or fraudulent statements regarding LeBron James. He's also facing lesser charges for the negligence in not letting William Byrd go to the dentist, along with a conspiracy charge in connection with more corrupt acts involving the black Laura Ingraham. He was last seen in Los Angeles after getting cut from the Lakers D-League affiliate basketball team. Please call FYF Sports if you have seen Ticket. Or is it CJ?
Support for the show, FYF Sports, is brought to you by Manscaped, who's the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Manscaped offers precision engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped is trusted by over 2 million men worldwide. Join the movement for all of your below-the-waist grooming needs. Get 20% off and free shipping with coupon code FYFCREW at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com. Use the code FYFCREW. Your balls will thank you. It's FYF Sports, man. It's Lamont. We back with another podcast video. And today, we got some interesting news. And again, this is a report from just kind of two different fronts. You guys know that we got our epic series, Shock Jocks, where we're exposing some of the biggest shock jocks, not just on YouTube, but just in media and sports in general. How they try to perpetuate fake news, fake narratives, fake media, lies, and everything that you can say negative, just to kind of, corrupt the minds of people, whether it's for financial gain, whether it's for employers, whether it's, for a number of reasons people do these things. So this video just kind of knocks out two stones, because I think with regards to the actual story that we're going to be talking about, I think it's something that needs to be discussed. Especially when you're speaking about it accurately and reporting on it accurately. But then also, we can kind of mesh this in with part 2 of our Shock Jock series and go ahead and expose one of the biggest shock jocks in the basketball community. Again, one of the worst things that you can have. And again, I understand there's an entertainment value and an entertainment aspect to certain, these things. But you got to, if you're going to be an entertainer, and if you're going to say entertaining things, then just label yourself as an entertainer. Be a comedian, be funny, and let that be known. But if you're going to perpetuate yourself, as the king of the media, and you have all facts, all knowing, all truth, some of the best sources in the game giving you this information, you cannot consistently, on a day in and day out basis, perpetuate lies to the people. So before we get into today's video, make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell to the video if you haven't done so already. Again, the grind to 20K has came and went. Next goal is to 100K. All right, we're going to continue with the live streams on the day, on a daily basis. We're going to continue, dropping these epic mini series. This is, again, this is part 2 of our Shock Jock mini series. And we got 3 more videos to come after that. So we got a lot of things coming. One of the biggest things that we have coming for the FYF Sports channel is the FYF Sports Community Basketball event. It's going to be July 3rd and July 4th in Indianapolis, Indiana. All right, you need to mark those dates on your calendars. Make your plans to be there. We're working right now to get the venue locked in. But as it stands right now, that event is going to be happening. We're going to have FYF Sports Boxing. All right, we're going to have a boxing tournament that Saturday. We're going to have the basketball game that Sunday. So again, if you want to participate in the FYF Sports Community Basketball event, make sure you email us. All of our contact information is going to be in the description of the video. Send us an email at business@fyfsports.com. Let us know if you just want to be a sponsor. All right, if you want to be a company sponsor, if you want to participate in the boxing, basketball, if you want to coach one of the teams. All right, if you have somebody that you think is talented enough to play in this game, hit us up, let us know. All right, and we can, we can get you signed on, get you on board with the FYF Sports Community Basketball event. But today, I just, we gathered all this information, and I was looking at this, and actually, one of my subscribers sent me this video a few days ago, and they said you definitely need to react to it. And initially, I just wasn't going to react to it. And then just looking at the Shock Jock series, I basically said this is the perfect opportunity to really detail to the people what shock jocks are and how they are a detriment to the community. This simply exposes some of the tactics that they use. All right, and one of the main tactics that shock jocks will use are lies, just complete and utter lies that absolutely make no sense. And again, remember what I told you. You can be a shock jock for a certain player, whether you like them or whether you're against them. If you have a certain agenda and that agenda is stopping you from reporting the news and media accurately, that's what makes you a shock jock. All right, that's why we say it's FYF Sports here. Forget your feelings, no feelings involved. All right, if any player, any sport does something that we need to report on, we will report on that particular situation accurately. We can give our thoughts on it, but we're not gonna perpetuate our thoughts as fact. The story is what it is. And in this particular situation, if you didn't hear about this situation before, I'm going to go ahead and refresh you guys. But Brian Windhorst, a popular ESPN news reporter, he made the statement. He made this exact statement, and I'll put that statement here on the screen. He said, "I say within the next 12 months, a star/superstar player will demand a trade to the New York Knicks. And I don't know who it's going to be. I have some guesses. I'm not going to say right here. I'll let you guys start thinking about that. Let's just put it this way. League executives certainly have some guesses." All right. He further went on to say, "I say by next year's trade deadline, a superstar, an all-star, tries to force his way there." And he's referring to the New York Knicks. "They're going to be in a position to do that type of trade. And maybe that's where Julius Randle comes in as a trade piece." Okay. So Brian Windhorst reported on that. Obviously, Brian Windhorst has a reputation for being fairly knowledgeable about some of the inner workings of what happens in the NBA. You know, with regards to players, player movement, he has a lot of relationships. He's actually done a great job of reporting news and sports media. And he's one of the few out there. I mean, obviously he has his opinions to a certain degree about certain things, and we've seen him go that route. Everybody does. We even express our opinions. But when it comes to just stating pure facts about what's going on in sports, especially in NBA basketball, which is his specialty, he does a good job of just reporting it as is. Now, obviously, when with the knowledge that he has, and he's talking about a situation where he probably has spoken with a number of players and executives about this, it's not a situation where he could just publicly just start putting all of this information out into the ether. And it's primarily because of, relationships with, players, GMs, everybody involved, contractual situations, the league, the CBA. So there are certain things that prohibit him from just saying the information he knows. There's always a time and place for everything. And so when Brian Windhorst came out with this statement, everybody, obviously, everybody in the basketball community was like, who is he talking about? Now, if you are in the basketball community, all right, if you do have direct ties and connections to the NBA, everybody who has sources within the NBA, especially if you have a source linked to an executive or GM or former GM, anything, you knew exactly who Brian Windhorst was referring to. Unfortunately, one of the biggest shock jocks on YouTube thought you guys were some of the biggest idiots on YouTube, because he took this as an opportunity to link this particular statement to LeBron James. Now, everybody, again, and this is not just me, everybody who has legitimate resources within the NBA knew exactly who Brian Windhorst was referring to. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Everybody knew who he was referring to, except one of the biggest shock jocks on YouTube, who also professes to have contacts, connects, and so-called connections into the NBA to where he gets this information. So we're here today to just kind of dismantle it, and not just dismantle it, but ether it, ether it to a certain degree to where you guys can see how shock jocks operate and how they lie to create false narratives. Now, you see the title of the video, and this is obviously Ticket TV. All right, he's the number 2 shock jock, all right, that we have listed out of all of our shock jocks. So he titled his video, "Will LeBron James force a trade to the Knicks if LA loses?" All right, and so this was his response, and obviously this was his reaction to Brian Windhorst's statement. So what I'm going to do first is we're going to play a little bit of his thoughts on this statement that Brian Windhorst made. We're going to see the direction that he tries to go with it. Because this is what shock jocks will do. Shock jocks will try and lead you to believe that the things that they're saying are true. They will do everything in their power to lead you to believe that what they're saying is true until you ether them. And this is what has to be done. So the best thing about this situation is that we caught the shock jock in the act. So not just are we exposing who shock jock number 2 is, we're also exposing him in the act of being a shock jock. Let's go ahead. We're going to tune in. We're going to listen in live. We're going to listen in to see what he has to say about Brian Windhorst's statement with regards to a superstar player forcing a trade to the Knicks. Hey, y'all got check this out.
Ticket. I think LeBron is going to force his way out if they don't win the chip this year. And go to the Knicks. That the Knicks is getting better. He says that Brian Windhorst is LeBron's reporter. When he wants to leak information, he goes to Windhorst. He said that Kendrick Perkins, notice how Perk was out there criticizing the Knicks last year to get better, this, that, and the third, and said that's the reason why didn't nobody want to go over there. And now Windhorst came on national TV the other day and said that in less than a year, a major superstar is going to force a trade to the New York Knicks. Now,
check this one out. I think this one right here. If LeBron leaves, if he do, he decided to go to the Knicks. Remember, Carmelo, and Chris Paul.
That is true.
Chris Paul next year would be his last year on that contract.
That is true.
He could easily get bought out on that contract. Go to the Knicks. Yep. That'd be that crew right there.
Hey, look, Woodburn, I'm glad you brought that up because they was just talking about that shit today, and that slipped my mind. And you know what they were saying? They was talking about how Bron and had met up, and they had plotted that him and CP3 and Melo was gonna do that shit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man.
They was just talking about that shit, but I ain't really think about it until you just said something. But I still don't, like I said, man, because LeBron, he could have made that shit happen in LA with Melo, and he didn't. And then he tried to get CP3 over there. CP3 didn't want to go. So, like I said, that's the only reason why I don't see what you. I understand exactly what you're talking about. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And there you guys have it right there. I mean, this is shock jocks in work. This is shock jocks, and this is how they operate. You know, shock jocks like to craft the narrative. They like to craft the narrative, and then they themselves and the people that they put around them like to continue to perpetuate lies or nonsensical things within the basketball community. And we all know, with this situation. Now, again, with this situation, this situation, if you are linked within this basketball community, the NBA community, if you talk with NBA aficionados, NBA executives, GMs, scouts, things of that nature, like I told you guys before, everyone knew exactly who Brian Windhorst was referring to. I'm going to play you guys a short video clip about this. Because again, when I first heard this, I knew it was in reference to Devin Booker. Now, I knew it was in reference to Devin Booker. Do I believe it necessarily? No, I don't see Devin Booker as the type of player to force trades. He's more so the type of player that once his contract is up, maybe make a different decision then. He doesn't come off to me as the type of player that forces his way anywhere. Irregardless of how I feel about what he may or may not do, everyone in the community, when this statement came out, knew that this was Devin Booker. There were no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I'm going to take you guys to another clip to prove that. In everything and as much of that. So anything stemming off of this conversation should not involve any other players other than Devin Booker, because that's specifically who Brian Windhorst was referring to. And there were no other players specifically involved in that. He's the only other player that has the direct links. Let's go ahead and get to the video, just kind of debunking this particular narrative. And again, it's just very, this is what shock jocks like to do. They like to use, you know, what I don't, and again, whether it's LeBron James, in this particular case, obviously we know Ticket TV is a big time fan of LeBron James. He puts the name in all of his video titles. But for whatever reason, he also has some type of animosity towards the man, LeBron James. And continually wants to denigrate his name. And you denigrate his name by making up myths and false narratives like this. Before I get to the, the next clip, you guys remember the situation with Lord Ninja, how he came to our channel, how he misrepresented everything about LeBron James because he got a lot of bad information from Ticket TV, and he ended up coming onto our platform and he made himself look like a fool. But see, that's what happens when you walk around and you start absorbing and then spewing out some of the things that shock jocks like Ticket TV will tell you. Let's go ahead and get to this next clip.
The name that Wendy was talking about is Devin Booker.
That's his caginess was like Devin. Okay.
He's talking about Devin Booker.
Gotcha.
And when you look at the ties that exist within the Knicks organization, you have a guy like Leon Rose, who's running the team. Devin Booker was one of his top clients when he was with obviously as an agent, represented him. How did Devin Booker get to Leon Rose? He came through the routes of Kentucky basketball, Worldwide West
connection,
very deep connection to Cal. Worldwide West is now with the Knicks. Right. Kenny Payne recruited Devin Booker. He was an assistant coach with Kentucky basketball. He's now an assistant coach with the Knicks. All these things kind of work together. They have all the relationships. That's a piece that Wendy was talking about.
How about that?
Devin Booker.
See?
There you have it right there. Jay Will, again, another basketball savant, another guy who's deeply vested within the NBA. He has a lot of contacts within NBA circles. All right. Now again, Brian Windhorst is an ESPN reporter. His job is more so to report the news as is. Jay Williams is an analyst. Two different roles there. He can disseminate and give his thoughts and opinions on the news reported, which is why you see so many mixed emotions and feelings about Jay Williams, because everything he says, for the most part, is an opinion leaning either way towards this player or that player, or this team or that team. That's what he does. So again, this show right here, Keyshawn, Jay Will, and Zubin, that's what they do on their morning talk show. They disseminate their thoughts and opinions about the news that's reported. Again, Brian Windhorst isn't in that position, so he's not in the luxury. He doesn't have the luxury of throwing players' names, contacts, and executives' names out there where he gets his information. Now, as we've stated on this channel before, whenever executives or anybody leaks this type of information, whether it's stemming from agents or anything, there's always some type of hidden agenda behind it. And it's our job to kind of break that down and kind of see through it. But at the end of the day, this was one of the easiest stories, especially if you have any ties into the NBA. This was one of the easiest stories to really break down, because it was no hidden secret who Brian Windhorst was talking about. He's talking about Devin Booker. Now, whether you choose to believe Brian Windhorst or not, only time will tell. But I think it's highly irresponsible. To start attaching this particular story to players like LeBron James or any other player in the NBA. All right. And as you guys just heard in that snippet, when you have a panelist on there making these eyeball connections between Carmelo Anthony, Chris Paul, and LeBron James, and how this potential reunion of basketball players over 36 years old is gonna happen in New York. I mean, at least here on FYF Sports, I wouldn't have let things go down that way, because my main thing is, if you say something, base it out of fact. Base it out of pure fact. Talking about the Banana Boat boys and any conversations made on that boat that you have no recollection or records of is gonna get you ether here on FYF Sports. And then to condone it, I think this is what labels you as one of the biggest shock jocks on YouTube. And you continuously, we all know this, Ticket TV continuously, day in and day out basis, finds a way to link any potential topic back to LeBron James in a negative way. That's the purpose of Ticket TV. There's no other purpose. Ticket TV is the gathering spot for LeBron James haters. And for those who feel opposite, it's entertainment. And so again, like I said, I don't mind if you label your show as comedy, fine. That's what it is, comedy. But don't label yourself as true and accurate news media when you're perpetuating opinions that everybody in the basketball community with any type of networks or contacts know are false. See, again, on certain platforms, people cannot check your credibility. FYF Sports, and we can check our credibility. And again, for example, and I can give you guys an example. Months before Chris Paul came to Phoenix, I told Hitman X, Chris Paul's coming to Phoenix. Now I told him this behind the scenes before anybody else, before anybody thought to say Chris Paul's coming. Now, everybody in real basketball circles, we all knew this. Everybody behind the scenes knew this. If you were in any real basketball circle, you knew the only destination for Chris Paul was to Phoenix. Why? Because as soon as the season ended, Chris Paul reached out to the Phoenix Suns. That was the only team he was interested in going to. And the Phoenix Suns luckily had two players that they needed to move. And Chris Paul would be there would be a seamless transition to make it happen with his contract. It was a perfect fit. But everybody in real basketball circles knew this. And I told this information to Hitman X. And when Hitman X told people laughed at him. People called him crazy. People said it wouldn't work. And now look at the Phoenix Suns, one of the top teams in the Western Conference with Chris Paul leading the ship. Be careful listening to shock jocks. People like Ticket TV. And again, this is not the first video. We've seen the eccentric and crazy predictions. You know, when you have a situation where some of your best friends on YouTube, LVZ, when they have to come ether you because you are being a shock jock, instead of thinking, you just start saying things out of emotion. You start ethering yourself, and then there's at no point in time, again, you wouldn't be, and I would give somewhat an exception if you actually came back and said, you know what, that information I reported was inaccurate. This is the accurate story. I have yet to see a time where you come back and do reasonable reporting. You say, you know what, I was inaccurate on that. This is what happened. Here's the true and accurate reporting on this particular topic. I'm going to correct that story. But see, I keep telling you guys, this is what happens with shock jocks time and time again. Not just with Ticket TV, but if you look back on all of the biggest shock jocks across this whole series, and I've already said Stephen A. Smith is one. We have Ticket TV as the second one. What shock jocks do is they say things so quickly, so brashly. They come out with these eccentric claims, lies, and myths about things happening within the sports world. They say it so quickly, when it doesn't happen or doesn't pan out in their favor, it's hard for them to come back and say they were wrong, because then they would spend every other day, every other hour recanting stories or recanting comments about things that they said were fact. And we've seen Stephen A. Smith do it. We've seen Ticket do it. He does it on a daily basis. We saw him do it all throughout the playoffs last year. We saw how he predicted that the Portland Trail Blazers were going to beat the Lakers in the first round. We saw how he predicted that the Rockets would beat the Lakers in the next round. We saw how he predicted that the Nuggets would beat the Lakers. We saw how he jumped on the Jimmy Butler and the Miami Heat bandwagon and predicted that they might potentially win, and you made every excuse. We saw how he created false narratives about LeBron James wanting to win Finals MVP and stat pattern. These are things when you continuously making fake topics and fake narratives up, all aimed at one player, That's what makes you a shock jock, because you have one agenda to denigrate LeBron James, of denigrating one single player who you have animosity and beef with for some unbeknown reason. We have to label you as a shock jock. Your credibility is zero. Your newsworthiness is zero, but your comedic value is at an all-time high. And I just hope that one day you come out and say that this is simply comedy hour as opposed to news reporting and talking sports, like legitimate barbershop sports talk. Because there are too many things that are said over there that get swept under the rug and not ether. I don't know any other sports platform. There's not a lot of sports platforms where you can walk in the room and say LeBron James is a role player and not walk out getting heavily ethered. And I don't care if you walk in a room full of Michael Jordan fans. I don't care. I don't care if you walk in a room full of 100 people who hate LeBron James. If you're a sensible sports head, some things just can't be said. Some things are so far off the wall that you just have to get ethered. All right. And to top it off, don't censor your panelists. Because when people come on, when people want to come on and ether you on certain topics, you censor their ability to ether you by limiting what they can and cannot say. And if they don't say it in a fashion that you like, you block them. That's what makes you a shock jock. You censor content. We see this with Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. Smith can control the narrative on the things that he reports. The things that get out or come in. The things that he wants to respond to, the things that he can simply ignore. Shock jocks like to control things to that degree. And unfortunately, Ticket TV's been doing this over the last 4 to 5 years. Now, some say that at one point in time, just like Stephen A. Smith, he wasn't like this. It was sensible. It wasn't eccentric. It wasn't off the wall. But again, we say that there are multiple reasons why shock jocks develop and turn into shock jocks. It could be money. Some would say more donations start to pour into Ticket TV. When the lies and the myths and the fake news on LeBron James starts to get perpetuated. Maybe that's a motivation to continuously do this on a day in and day out basis, thus affecting your credibility and quality of your content. So we see this with Stephen A. Smith. There was a point in time when Stephen A. Smith was a reliable sports talking head. Whether you like him or whether you don't like him, you have to admit this. And with most shock jocks, this is how they always start. There was usually a time frame when they were reasonable, when they were logical, when they were trustworthy. And then they generally develop into this. Now, we expose Stephen A. Smith's reasons for potentially turning into a shock jock. When the ESPN ratings started to drop, when shows started to get canceled, when analysts were getting laid off left and right, then we started to see this eccentric change in personality and news that's disseminated. And the same thing has happened with all of the shock jocks that we talk about. Again, this is number 2, but you're going to see the same pattern with all of the shock jocks that we talk about. They like to disseminate things in a fashion that galvanizes lies. And unfortunately, Ticket TV is labeled as shock jock number 2. You guys, let me know what you think about this. Because, again, I don't think to many this is a very big surprise. I think a lot of you guys knew that he will be on this list. And I'm sure, whether you're a fan of the channel or not, I'm sure you all can pull up scenarios where he's stated something as fact. I mean, Hitman X can tell you, there was when Ticket TV came out and reported Kyle Kuzma was 100% going to get traded to Phoenix for Devin Booker, but it never happened. But there was no follow-up story coming out saying we were incorrect on that reporting. This is what actually happened. No. See, shock jocks will say things in the midst of any particular situation to sound right, and when otherwise proven wrong, they will censor you. And as we know, Hitman X is now blocked from the platform, primarily because of things like that. And the same thing goes when people who consistently ether you and test and show and your credibility, when they start get censoring out, then you're just pulling the curtain open, and just when we see that S on your chest and the S on your chest, when it says shock jock, we know what that S on your chest means. That's what it means. You know, when guys like Straightway Elder Rufus get blocked, one of the most respected sports minds, whether on or off YouTube, when he gets blocked and censored from your channel over a LeBron James conversation, that's censoring, trying to control the narrative on a fake topic. So many things, so many people blocked, so many people censored, so many people's voices have been quelled. And all you have to do is ask yourself why. And the reason why you have to ask yourself why, because the main thing, whether you're on ESPN or whether you're on YouTube, the main thing, we all thrive off of viewership. Whether it's viewers who love us or hate us, we all thrive off interactivity and engagement in the content. Whether people have positive comments or whether people have negative comments, whether they have likes or dislikes on the video, it's all considered engagement. And as someone putting media out there, it's all positive. If you put a thumbs down on the video, it's positive. It's positive for the channel because it increases the engagement. When you comment on the video, increases engagement. Whether when you comment in the live streams, this is all recorded. It's engagement in the video, and it helps. I'm not censoring anybody because you guys are the one that helps drive these channels. So again, when you see a shock jock, especially shock jocks on YouTube, consistently trying to control the narrative by controlling the people that can have a voice around you. When you try to start censoring out people, remember, it's the people on YouTube that make these channels worth a damn. When you start censoring them, we have to look at you with a blind eye, because then then we have to say to ourselves, is there another agenda that's going on here? And the agenda that's going on here, obviously we know, is the odd, mysterious love/hate affair with LeBron James, for whatever reason, drives Shock Jock number 2 Ticket TV. You guys, let me know in the comments what you think about this video. Let me know your thoughts on this particular subject or just any other situation. If you guys have a memorable moment where you've exposed or you've seen the fraudulent activities of this shock jock with regards to sports, let me know. Put it in the comments, because there are a lot of things. And again, I want you guys, if you guys think that he's putting accurate media out there and you disagree with my take, definitely put it in the comments and let me know. But Shock Jock number 2 Ticket TV, would love to have you on the podcast if you want to. If you want to address these allegations of being a shock jock, we'd love to have you on the podcast. Hey, but it's been a great podcast episode. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell to the video. Man, we got more to come. We got epic live streams. We got a lot of sports news and information coming out soon. Again, a lot to come with the channel. Don't forget, y'all, man. Remember, we got the FYF Sports Community Basketball event coming up soon. All right, we need the donations to make this happen, man. So make sure you hit that Cash App. Make sure you put in a note to that Cash App, FYF Sports Community Basketball event, so we can put your donation towards that, man. But we really want to kick this off. And this is not a one-time event. We want to make this an annual event, something that happens year after year after year. And I don't want it to just be an all-star game where we're just throwing up shots. I want this to be a competitive game that we all look to participate in every single year. All right, and if we can grow this into something bigger, we want this to be and something epic. So we can only make that happen if you guys continue to engage in the videos, share the videos, keep doing what you do. Definitely support the channel like you have been, and we're gonna keep giving you, the best content, the best sports content on YouTube. But hey, it's FYF Sports, man. It's been another great podcast episode. We'll be back tonight in another live stream. Make sure you guys tune in with all your notes, and we're gonna be, the topic for tonight is gonna be the Detroit Pistons, man. Which defense was better? Defense led by Ben Wallace, or the defense led by Dennis Rodman? I want you guys, go do your homework, get your thoughts together on that topic, because we got to get to the bottom of that. Who has had the greatest defense in NBA history? We got to get to the bottom of that tonight on FYF Sports. But until then, it's FYF Sports, and we out.
She took my heart like a bandit. I play my card like I'm Gambit. I'm selling stocks like a wolf. I'm in the market like Granny. Taking my time and I am it. Run it up just for the family. Hey, Pierre, go crazy. Hey, where you been hiding? Running it up and providing. Real G still moving silent. Bulls on the market, you know it. It's a moonshot, then I'm on it. You could've took the trip, but you loafing. Thought it was love, it's a dub. Thought it was trust, it was lust. You was more about you than us. Damn.